So my first run, when I decided to lose the weight, I was, like I said, 297. I was about 32% body fat. And my idea was to run 4 miles for my first run. I didn't know how bad it's gonna fucking hurt me. I used to run before I was fat, and I was like, fuck it, I can do this. I ran a 1/4 mile and walked home. I walked home and sat on my couch and cried. I went to my mom's house, who was about maybe 20 minutes down the road, and cried again in her couch, saying, man, I can't fucking do this shit. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just got somebody pregnant. My life was just fucked. I was making $1,000 a month. My rent was $810 a month. And my mind just kept fucking with me. And kept fucking, you're not good enough, man. This isn't for you, man. These guys are the baddest motherfuckers on the planet Earth. You're not that. And I'm able to visualize and dream like nobody's business. And I know that I can create a vision that many people can't. And I work for it. So the vision I had was when Apollo Creed beat the fucking shit out of Rocky, beat the shit out of him, he kept fighting. He was a dumb fighter, couldn't read, that was me. Couldn't read, couldn't write, just punchy, everything about him. And Rocky Apollo beat the shit out of him. He was in that corner and everybody was saying, stay the fuck down. And him getting up, Apollo Creed raised his arms up in the fucking air, turned around, thought he won the fight. He turns around and sees this guy getting up, and it was the face of Apollo Creed that changed my life. The face of Apollo Creed. It was like, just by that motherfucker getting up, not winning, just by him getting the fuck up, Apollo Creed was champ, he's the best. Rocky had taken his soul, had literally taken his soul. His head goes down, he looks at him like, what the fuck are you? I wanted to be that, not Rocky. I wanted to be the guy that people looked at. I don't care if you liked me or didn't like, I don't care. But said, this motherfucker is gonna keep coming after whatever the fuck is in front of him. I wanted that. I wanted that worse than anything in the world. So that is, I kept picturing me falling down and getting up, and every motherfucker that called me nigger, I was dumb. Even myself, I wanted to feel something besides defeat. I wanted to just go the distance. And that going the distance pushed me to a point of where now I go way past the distance. So basically what I did was I came home and I had a chocolate milkshake. I sat down and I gave up. I said, this ain't gonna fucking happen, man. I could lose 106 pounds and I can't even go 1/4 fucking mile. I started being able to take negative shit and be happy. I was like, man, what story would it be if my fucking fat, dumb, lying to be friends with people, insecure ass can overcome this shit? And that what if mentality, like that dreamer mentality, just would always fuel me. It would just fuel me, man. What if I can be a SEAL, man? What if I can go from running 1/4 fucking mile, now I run 205 miles. I love the fucking guy who just fucking fights. And so I put these things in as reminders that you're gonna have to fucking suffer, man. This fucking 0.25, man, man, you're gonna have to fucking suffer to go from this fat, insecure motherfucker to one of the best guys on the planet Earth. This journey is gonna take something that is gonna be incomprehensible to most people. And these different visualizations, how I visualize in my self-talk, it became so nasty and dirty that I almost liked the fact that I went 0.25. So it became from being defeated to like, man, all right, motherfucker, maybe tomorrow we can go 0.75. It just became this different mindset. I turned negatives into positives. So I would take it like, who would even think about doing this? So I would sit on my couch saying, who at 297, who can't fucking swim that great, who's scared of the fucking water, would have the fucking balls? Who had the balls to fucking man up, quit a job, and go and just put everything on himself? So it's how I started talking to myself and putting myself in a whole different category, and that would fuel me the next day, and I just kept using that as fuel. No one would do this shit. No one would do this shit. You're the baddest motherfucker around. You're the baddest motherfucker ever lived. And I gained 125 pounds in that time frame. I went from 175 to almost 300, to 297 was my heaviest. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. Because that voice I was telling you about, it always was there. I was just trying to avoid that conscience. I wanted to be left alone from that conscience, and it wouldn't leave me alone. So I got out of the Air Force, and I started working for a job called Ecolab, where you spray for cockroaches at 24, and spraying at different steak and shakes, Red Lobster, whatever, from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. And what changed, I came home and watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I came home from Steak and Shake. I sprayed it down last, get a big old large 42-ounce shake, walk across the street and get a box of mini donuts from 7-Eleven, and I would drive home for 45 minutes. This big old fat guy who, yeah, I worked out, but I was fat. I didn't run, didn't PT, I just hit the gym. So driving home, turn the TV on, and what comes on, Discovery Channel show, and that's where everything changed for me. I was taking a shower, I walked out, heard these guys, and I watched the show, and it made me reflect big time on the piece of shit that I am, and I'm exactly what people said I was gonna be. But I was watching these guys going through Hell Week, Class 224, and these guys ringing the bell, quitting, dropping their helmet down, rolling out, a lot of guys just leaving. And it made me reflect on my fears, my insecurities, and I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying, who were overcoming adversity, who were overcoming all these different things that I had blamed so many fucking people in my life, my dad, my mom for not being there. When I was 14 years old, my mom was gonna get remarried to this great guy. He got murdered. And then I moved back to that small town in Brazil, and everybody was to blame. My learning disability, my skin color, you know, me being everything. And so I sat there for a while, and I was like, man, I got it. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. And so I had to man up, and I said, the first thing I gotta start doing is facing every fucking fear I have. No matter what the fuck it is, man. I had two options: to either be that 300-pound guy who sprayed for cockroaches and made $1,000 a month, and at 24 years old, knowing when I'm 50 fucking years old, I can reflect on this and think about what guy I never became, or I can totally just sack it up and fail and fail and fail until I succeed. So I started calling recruiters up. I said, I'm gonna go be a fucking Navy SEAL. And every recruiter, so there's a weight and height, so the weight and height limit to get in the military. And I was 6'1" and 297. And I had prior service, which was a big deal. So I called all these recruiters up, and all of them said, hey, how tall are you, blah, 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 blah. They got into conversation to see if I was even qualified. And by the time I got to my weight, phone would hang up pretty much, like, hey, you know what, call somebody else, you know, try to get in the reserves. So I tried to get in the reserves. And I called this guy named Steven Salgio, recruiter, up, and he said, hey, come on in. He saw me, put me through the weight standard, all this other stuff, and to get into the class I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So I was like, fuck that, I can't do that. I grabbed my chocolate milkshake and went back to Ecolab. I'm going back to work, man. This is my life. And I sat there and I said, this is my life. I said, this is my life. You are exactly who the fuck, this is it. And I said, this ain't gonna be it for me. So in that restaurant, I quit my job, left my canister in that restaurant, my spray canister, got back in my Ecolab truck, and I went home. And I started working out like somebody, I became the most obsessed person on the planet Earth. And I was basically, I had to invent a guy that didn't exist. I had to invent a guy that can take any pain, any suffering, any kind of judgment, be called nigger, be called whatever the fuck in the world, and be able to stand in the fucking room and say, go fuck yourself. I had to build this callous mind, and I built it through suffering. I built it through downright fucking just crushing myself. If it was raining outside at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, if it was snowing, the first instinct is don't go out there and do shit. My instinct was, we gotta fucking go out there. Anything that was fucking horrible in my life that I would normally say no, that was inhumane to most people, I had to go do it. And I started callousing my mind at this point in my life. And I lost the weight. And I went back to recruiter. I got into that class, and I went through 3 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks in 1 year. Only guy to ever be in 3 Hell Weeks in 1 year, to my knowledge. The first one I didn't make it through, the next 2 I did. And I didn't stop anymore from there. And I started realizing through this process that the fucking mind is what you created. And I started opening different doors that I didn't think were even there, that I didn't think even existed. And the more doors I opened up, the more I started realizing that my potential is damn near endless.
I did it because basically I grew up very tough life. Lived in a horrible place, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Got beat down so bad by my father that he beat the courage and strength out of me. So I had to find a way to kind of get it back. And how I did that was literally examining my soul. So in doing that, I started looking for the most uncommon people in the world. So it brought me into special operations, from the Air Force to the SEALs to Rangers. And along the way, I started realizing how powerful the mind truly is and how little we use of it. So when I was getting beat down, I thought I was nothing. I thought I was the lowest form on earth. And to develop my mindset, what I did was I started joining special operations unit, looking for these courageous men. And I found them. And when I found them, I started realizing that it's all in your head. The most important conversation is the one you have with yourself. You wake up with it, you walk around with it, you go to bed with it. Eventually, you act on it. And my conversation was a bad one. So the people who I thought were up here in my life, these uncommon men, I was putting myself down here. But over a period of time, I started realizing that I'm also uncommon. And I started pissing those uncommon men off by realizing that we all have this ability in our mind. So I'm going to leave you this one short story. It goes all over the place. I was 175 pounds, went to 300 pounds, lost 106 pounds to join the Navy SEALs in about 3 months. So I lost that weight really quick, got the door, went through 3 hell weeks, finally got through Navy SEAL training, graduated, went on to Ranger School, so on and so forth. This is what kind of put me on the map as far as ultra running goes. I gained about 50 pounds back. I was about 250 pounds. This is a story about the mind. I'll go through it real quick. So I didn't put running shoes on for about 9 months, 10 months. I was overseas deploying, came back with the free fall school. What I did was I went online, Googled, different events. This event came up called the Badwater 135 mile race through Death Valley in the summertime. I didn't know that was even humanly possible to run that far. I thought it was a stage race. I thought you put your shoes on, ran 15 miles, set up a barbecue, camped out, and then did it again the next day. It was a 40-hour race. I went out there and basically to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. So I called this guy up named Chris Kosman. Chris Kosman was a race director. He said to me, basically, you have to run 100 miles in 24 hours or less to qualify. I never run past 20 miles in my entire life, and up until now, I probably ran 20 miles this entire year. So he says, I called him up on a Wednesday. He says, you know what, there's a race on Saturday. And if you run 100 miles in 24 hours, I will consider you in my race. So I wasn't real smart growing up, and obviously I wasn't real smart right now. So I did the math. The math like less than a 15-minute mile. So I said, I can walk this. Dumbest decision I made in my entire life. Went out there about 250 pounds, and I get to mile 50. It's in San Diego, November. So on a 1 mile track, where you go as many times as you can around 1 mile track for 24 hours. I get to mile 50 in about 12, 13 hours. I sit down. I sit in this blue lawn chair. I saw my ex-wife every single mile. I got Ritz crackers and Mileplex with my nutrition. I was a musclehead, so I drank a lot of Mileplex back then. So basically, here I am drinking Mileplex, Ritz crackers. By mile 70, I haven't gone to the bathroom one time. No water. That Mileplex tastes like hell, and the Ritz cracker is a ball in my mouth. This is where I really realized that, so I'm already a Navy SEAL. This is when I realized that we only use 40% of our mind. This is when I started going crazy with mindset and being a scientist of the mind. We go, I'm at mile 70, I look at my ex-wife, you sit down and I have to go in the bathroom for 12 hours. What must you do? Go in the bathroom. So I sit down and I look at her. It's the farthest I've ever gone in my entire life. 7 miles, I'm happy, I'm feeling good. And I can't get up to go to the bathroom. It's literally from me to end the stage. So I look at her and I said, honey, do you love me? She goes, why? I go, because I can't stand up. My blood pressure's all messed up. I go, I'm going to take a shit on myself right now. So I went back in my back and I started peeing blood down my leg. And my ex-wife's like, oh my God, you got to stop. This is when I realized throughout my whole life, all the bad times, all the good times, you know what, I'm not gonna quit yet. Let me get better. Let me fix my blood pressure. Let me get some potassium, sodium, nutrition in my body. Let me see if I can fix myself. So I said, if I can just walk one more mile after being in the worst shape of my entire life, this would change everything for me mentally going forward. From this kid who came from dirt, nothing, who couldn't read until he was in a junior in high school and is now here. I walked a mile. I said, maybe I can walk one more mile. Maybe I can walk another mile. At mile 81, my ex-wife looked at me and said, you're not gonna make the time. When your mind knows it's not going to quit, and this is what I found out, this is my 40% rule. When your mind knows it's not going to quit, your body will adapt to whatever is in front of it. I ended up running 20 more miles. I did 101 miles in 19 hours and 6 minutes. And that one day changed, that 19 hours. It wasn't SEAL training, it wasn't Ranger School, it wasn't Delta Force, it wasn't any of that crap I went through. It was this 19 hours and 6 minutes that forever changed my life to know that we as human beings are capable of anything.
I had broken feet at the start line of a 135-mile race. And if you go back, you will see as I'm finishing the race, you will see this black compression tape floating behind me. I went to the start line of that race. I trained for that race with broken fucking feet. And I don't talk about a lot because what happens is normal people with normal minds can't understand that. So then you become a liar or this and that. But now I got to the point in my life where I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. If you don't believe it, go ahead. But I don't talk about a lot because I know what I've done and I know what the mind can do and where it can take you. I've experienced it over and over and over again to the point where it's almost like I can't even believe sometimes, but I'm willing to go there. I'm willing to push myself to that limit and see what happens.
But you think people that don't have any health problems, you think that they could go do these deals?
I think, yes, 100%.
Really?
100%.
Because the majority of people think there's no way they could ever do it.
And that's the reason why they can't do it.
There you go.
That's the only reason. They have already put their cap on their success in life. And that's why most people aren't sitting where you're sitting or sitting where I'm sitting. You never capped yourself. You might have. And if you did, you took it off.
100%.
People cap themselves. They look at somebody and because their mind can't imagine it, they then start talking shit. He has to be doing this, or he has to be doing that. There has to be some trick. There has to be some potion. This is bullshit. No, it's because you cannot allow your mind to open up for the possibility of it can be done, which is why you being people are where they are today. Because you shackled your mind to have limits. And everybody has a limit, but find it first.
You got a limit?
Haven't found it yet.
I don't think you have.
Haven't found it yet.
It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
Think
Haven't
you
found
will?
it yet. I find it at times, but what happens is I then figure out how to get around it, through it, above it, climb over it. So those limits, I'm always, that's what I said, I taught myself how to fail. I'm always skirting on that like limit of like, okay, I'm there. Okay, I failed. But I was right there. What did I miss? What the fuck did I miss? Oh, that's what I fucking missed. It's hard to imagine, but you have to learn how to fail. Because I'm gonna explain this to you. I had big dreams. A lot of us have big dreams, big goals. And when you have goals that are maybe outside your reach, you have to know that getting to that goal, you're gonna have a lot of bad days, a lot of setbacks. So like when I was losing 106 pounds in 3 months, the first 2 months or first 2 weeks, it's like I was gaining weight. You know, I would lose a pound, gain 2. So I was just failing. I kept failing and kept failing and kept failing. So I had to teach myself how to fail right. And what that means is when I fail, I can't spend much time in that fail zone. I have to be able to get up, and get after the next day just as fast. Because my goals were to be a Navy SEAL. I don't have time to stay here and feel bad for myself for weeks and months and years, because I'll lose that time. So the big thing is, know that if you have big goals and big dreams, along the way, failure is going to happen. So how fast do you get up from that? And you got to teach yourself that. But the biggest key to success in anything you do is you got to have an unlimited supply of fucking fuck you. This drive and passion, and it may come from nothing. Like for me, there was no passion, no drive, no nothing. But I had this fire that I'm going to be somebody. And it has to be there, because on all those bad days and all those days you don't want to do shit, you have to be your own motivator, your own coach, your own trainer, your own everything. So to do that, you have to come into work, and work is whatever your work may be, ready to go. And what that means is you may have failed miserably yesterday, but you come to work like, people are like, man, you just lost everything. How the hell are you just fucking damn motivated? Because this is what it takes. This is what the fuck it takes. Like, I never forget, I was on a podcast one time, and this dude goes, you were blessed with a strong mind. What the hell are you talking about? I was blessed with a strong mind. That's something that you have to develop. You develop that over years, decades of suffering, and going back into the suffering. That's why a lot of people who graduate Navy SEAL training, I talk about very openly all the time. A lot of guys don't want to go back into that water. Don't want to go back into the hard stuff. Anything hard in life, once you get through it, it's like you become a POW. Like, how many POWs want to go back to POW camp? None. When something sucks so bad in life, very few people want to go back. They're happy they graduated. I realized I'm the same way. I don't want to go back. I have to go back. I must go back, because that is exactly where all the knowledge of my life exists. But how I grew a will was constantly doing these things. To now, it's just life. I wake up, while it still sucks, it's just life. I have days I don't want to do it, but I know I'm going to do it. I know from years of just doing it. Human beings need to hear this. They need to stop hearing these hacks on this and that. There's no fucking hack, bro. There is no fucking life hack. Do it, and do it, and do it, and do it. That's the hack. The hack is gonna fucking suck. And that's what I realized. Life, that's why I wanted to come on here today. I didn't want to come on here and talk about no fucking passion and purpose and how to get the fuck out of bed and how to hit a fucking alarm clock and all this catchphrase bullshit. Because that wasn't how I lived. That wasn't how I lived. I woke up like every human being does and goes, fuck, man, I'm a fucking piece of shit today. How the hell is this gonna work out for me? And you fight that. But now you know why there's so many people that fail in this world to figure out their purpose in life. Where do I go? Because to grow that, while you may not look like me, how my daily life looks, it don't look fun. It don't look fun. It's a choice that people have to make in life. But what's so funny about it is even the richest of rich, who have everything, they always ask me this question. I feel like I'm missing something. I don't feel like I'm missing shit. I don't have what you all have, but you'll never in my life hear me tell you I'm missing something. Everybody is. They're missing this feeling. I found it a long time ago. And I found it right there in that willpower thing. When you're nothing, and change yourself into something like me, you call it happiness, peace, whatever the fuck you want to call it, you'll never hear me say I'm missing something. I found it years ago. You find it in the suck. You find it in the suck, and you find it repeatedly in the suck, to the point where you know exactly who you are. Most people are missing something because they don't know who they are. They never examine themselves. They've never done this experiment on themselves. The lab rat, we're all lab rats, but you're also the scientist. You create your own self. Most people are missing something because there's so much trapped in there. I don't even want to say potential. I think that's a word used out too much too. There's so much in you that God or wherever the hell you believe in, or if you're an atheist, in you, that you have not unlocked. That you walk around with this gorgeous wife or great husband and all this money, you're like, God, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, because it's about 75% of you is still fucking in there. Still chained up because you just didn't want to find your willpower. Didn't want to find your soul, your will, your heart, your determination, your guts, your courage. Not getting civilized is about having a savage mentality. Civilized is something where people, it's a comfortable world. A lot of us say, like for instance, I see these athletes right now who retire, I'm 38, I'm 39, I did 20 years at the top of my game, and I'm chilling out now. You see them a year later and how they look. What the hell just happened to you, dude? What the hell? You're one of the greatest athletes of all time. Kids looked up to you. Women, men of all ages looked up to you. And they hit the pinnacle where it's time to retire, and their mind says, whew, I'm civilized. The worst thing that could ever happen to any human being is they become civilized. It's that total accountability. Like even when you retire, there's a motherfucker looking at me and judging me right now, man. I was the baddest person to ever live. It doesn't go away, man. You got to wake up. Even though you retired, you never retired. You're setting the example every single day of your life. And being civilized feels so good. I'm sorry, man. Once you get to the top, you may retire, but you ain't never coming back home, man, because now you're judged. People see you falling off. You want to be that guy who knows I may be retired from the sport or from wherever I did, but I'll be damned if you ever see me looking like shit. How you address it is you face it. You face it every day. You face it every single day of your life, where you say, okay, like if you're fat, you need to lose weight. It's patience. It's patience in this fact of accepting who you are right now. I'm fat. I don't like myself. Accepting the fact that if you lose 3 or 4 pounds, that's a huge accomplishment. You have to live in your own fucking world. You cannot judge yourself. That's why social media and all these things are horrible. You can't judge yourself off of the so-called competition that we have made up in our mind. The things that, how people look, how people act, how smart someone is. This is a race that you run completely alone. And you're all by yourself. I had tons of sticky notes all over my mirror. It wasn't like be better than John or be as fast as whoever. Okay, David, yesterday you did this. Today, our next goal for the week is this. Let's say it's a man up there or a woman, whatever, and they have a chart. And when you're born, they say David Goggins, born February 17th, 1975 at 6 a.m. They write the chart down because they can see everything. They know exactly what you're fucking supposed to be. They know what you're supposed to be. You die, you go to so-called heaven. You arrive at heaven, I'm 300 pounds. I retired as an Ecolab guy, which is okay. It's just a job, whatever. I go up there and God looks at me and he shows me my chart. And my chart on there says you were supposed to be a Navy SEAL. You're supposed to weigh 185 pounds. You're supposed to be one of the smartest people on the planet, this, all this. You see this. And now you're in heaven, you made it to heaven, but you're like, God, Doug, I was supposed to live that life. I was supposed to live that life. And then you find out that the reason why, because we all think that if we pray on it, if we do this, if we do that, whatever, if we don't work, we just, whatever, it's going to magically happen for us. No. I believe that when I'm all said and done with, my whole job is to outwork the chart. Whatever the fucking chart says about me, the all-knowing power up there, I want to get up there and say, him look at me and say, I know everything. I didn't fucking see this. I didn't fucking see this. I want to feel that. I want to get to the other end of this fucking world, and however I'm being judged, whoever's judging me, to look at me and say, I did not fucking know. I had you at 185, I had you at this, but all this other shit, I was riding as you were living it. I want to find more. All I can. And in that fucking sack of shit, you have to dive in that to find more. Because if you're not willing to go in there and face yourself, you're not gonna find anything. You're gonna live right here on surface, man, right here on surface. So if there is an ending to this world and there is somewhere to go and there's a judgment, you're gonna get there and you might see a chart. And that chart may tell you who the fuck you should have been. And now you get the rest of your life to think about that. Man, I could have lived a much better life if I just would have just suffered a little bit more.